Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of the Educational Leadership Podcast. We have another very special guest. Before we introduce our guest, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education in the form of a free gift. So if your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. Okay, today we have Superintendent Kilgore from Ingleside ISD. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Superintendent Kilgore, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share our story of Ingleside.
Absolutely. And for those that are new to tuning in, we are spreading the good word about around public education. There's a lot of great things happening in public education that doesn't get shared enough. There's some really good things. And just so you get to know our guest, Superintendent Kilgore, could you share a little about your background and some just size of your district, location, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. My name is Scott Kilgore, and I'm the proud superintendent of Ingleside ISD. Ingleside ISD is located on the Gulf Coast of Texas. We are about 25 miles northeast of Corpus Christi. We are a school district of about 2,000 students and growing slightly right now. And we are a very heavily industrial-based district. We have Corpus Christi is one of the world's largest ship channels and ports, and we have a lot of oil and gas, petroleum products that come in and out of our area. And we have a lot of neighbors that are industrial refineries, and so we partner with them to really help prepare our students for the workforce. As far as my background, I'm not really your traditional superintendent. Um, I've only been a superintendent now for almost 3 years, but before that, I was a teacher, a coach, and an athletic director for 21 years before I got into administration. I have done literally everything from doing laundry and athletic periods to driving buses to helping serve meals during COVID by delivering food to teaching and coaching for a long time. So I try and bring that experience of what the day-to-day logistics of a school actually look like in my leadership position that I'm in now.
Fantastic. And it's funny, some of the best stories and most successful superintendents we've seen have been people that have worked in the different areas of the district. I don't know if it's the ability to um, empathize with other leaders in the district or the staff members. Um, but yeah, so that's fantastic. And so you mentioned that there's a uh, wait one real quick. Did you give us the size of the district? What's the size?
Yeah, we're about 2,000 students, so we're in
Okay.
Texas what they would call a small 4A school district.
Okay, small 4A school district. Got it. And you mentioned the relationship between the businesses
Mhm.
and the district. What could you go into that a little bit more detail? How do y'all coordinate and work together?
Absolutely. Here in Ingleside, we're a very blue collar community. We're a very diverse community. I'd like to say very traditional. We have a lot of like third, fourth, fifth generation students in our district. And that's because there's a lot of great local jobs that are available to people in our community with the refineries and with the industrial base that we have. As a school district, we've recognized this. And we understand that not every kid is going to go to college, and you don't have to necessarily go to college to be successful. And I think that's one of the things we've seen in education over the last several years that's kind of shifted because for a time it was like every kid's going to college, and you got to go to college if you're going to be successful. But I think in Ingleside, we were kind of on the forefront of realizing that that's not necessarily the case. So what our goal is yes, we still want to send kids to college, and we want those kids who have that desire to go out and become engineers and become lawyers and doctors. We want to provide them a world-class education, but we also want to reach those students who may not want to go to college, and that may not be what's best for them. And my own son is a perfect example of that. He was very mechanically inclined. He did not. He had no desire to go to college, but now he's an electrician in the local workforce and makes a really good living for his family and for himself. So we want to prepare our students by exposing them to the different opportunities that are out there specifically in our region, which is energy production. And we try and bring in those local partners, those local refineries, those local industries, and we're trying to expose our kids to those opportunities and then give them the opportunity to earn certifications, to do internships, and really prepare them for what life is like after high school. And that is to transition them into the workforce where they can be successful.
Fantastic. And how do the local businesses, do they do any type of training for the students, or what does that look like?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of our local industry that they provide grants to the school district, or they just partner with us by bringing in different aspects of their industry. And what we do is we put our kids in touch with them, and then we actually design our CTE programs in our school to get those certifications that when those students graduate, we have a lot of students that are hired on right out of high school and they already have like a level one certification or a level two certification based on the job that they're going to go into. And then those companies now they can focus more on that specialized training once they get those new employees in to their facilities, and they don't have to start from scratch. So it's been a really good partnership, and we're always looking to expand that with our local industries and our local employers.
That's fantastic. I know for me personally, from a learning perspective, being able, like when I was getting my MBA and learning all the financials and all that stuff, it wasn't until I actually got a job where I had to deal with some of that stuff there where it became real. Like, okay, this is how if it seems like having those local business partnerships could help from a learning retention standpoint and just I've seen it with like ag economic majors too, because they there's something physical where they can connect it to. Have y'all seen much of that? Just kind of maybe some metrics or trends or some feedback from students and the learning experience with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we one of the things that we've always done is welding. I mean, welding is, it's really big in the industrial, economics here in this region. We actually, in our own backyard, just down the road from our schools, we have one of the world's largest offshore oil rig platform builders, which is called Kiewit. And we have a lot of students who have gone through our welding programs over the years. And they go to work for Kiewit as welders and make a really good living. But we've expanded that because what we've done is we've gone to the industry and we are constantly engaging with them. Like, what do you need? Because we know we're trying to prepare kids for jobs that haven't even been created yet. I mean, that's how fast our world is evolving, right? With AI and all the different things. So we've even transitioned more from just welding where we were the first school district in our region to start what's called a millwright program. And I had no idea what a millwright was, but a millwright is kind of like a fabricator. They repair mechanical things in refineries and in industry. And so we actually partnered with our local junior college, Delmar, and provided these courses for our kids where they're going to be certified as millwrights right when they graduate from high school, so they can go out and they can work in either an oil refinery or an LNG plant, or they could go work for some engineering firm to service different things out in the field. And, that was a pretty unique thing that we were able to do for our kids. So always trying to look at what's on the horizon and then offer those opportunities to our students is something we really pride ourselves on.
Absolutely, and I can definitely appreciate that growing up in Channelview, Texas, where
Mhm.
the ship channel and the
Mhm.
refineries. Um, Curious, what obviously there's a lot of jobs available for students that don't go to college, whether that's through the local refineries, the trades, whatever there's locally to your community. Um, have you seen how important is it to go to college these days, other than if you want to be a lawyer or engineer or doctor?
I think it's important. And really what I think as educators, this is I just finished my 26th year in education, but we've seen that shift where, like I said earlier, everybody had to go to college to now not everybody has to go to college, but there's still that importance for that higher level education, right? And we really want to expose our kids to that. We've been able to partner with Delmar, where we have a lot of students who are able to take college courses while they're in high school at no cost to them and their family. We got kids graduating high school with 36, 40 hours of dual credit classes. So, they're already a sophomore almost to their junior year of college before they even graduate high school, which, really puts them in an advantage because you want to identify those kids who that's their ambition in life is to go to college and get that higher education, and whether it's become an engineer or or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever it might be that they want to do. We want to give them that opportunity, so really trying to identify that and offer as many opportunities for our students as possible. It's really important, and we're very proud of that because yes, we do have a lot of our CTE classes that are focused on the industry side of things. But we also are looking at other CTE classes like engineering, robotics, computer coding, our health sciences, which is actually has the most students in it for us, which leads kids into like phlebotomy and nursing and the medical fields. Really exposing our kids to as many different opportunities. And if they're going to be a nurse, they got to go to college, right? And so we definitely want to provide those opportunities in our school district.
Very good. Yeah, I always like to hear the partnerships between the industry and school districts. Well, there's a lot going on with public education. People are talking about vouchers, people are talking about funding, there's just all kinds of interesting things happening. What's your big focus right now in public ed? Because obviously there's a million things you could focus on. What's kind of top of radar right now?
Well, for us, I mean, kind of the political climate is always something that we get to deal with in our positions. Our biggest focus, really and truly, and as long as I'm here, it's always going to be our kids and our community. Identifying what your community wants and what your community needs for their students. We really, for us personally here in Ingleside ISD, we're a property wealthy district. So, the old term in Texas is the Robin Hood plan. We are a recapture district. So we're not supported really by the state. Our funding comes from the local tax base, and 91% of that is from industry. We actually send money back to the state each year because the state says we're overfunded. But I think you've probably talked to enough superintendents and educators. The state says, well, you only need this much to educate kids, but that's not necessarily true, right? Because inflation and rising costs, one of the challenges that we face here on the coast is property insurance because of windstorm. So where a district like ours is paying well over $1 million a year more in property insurance than a district that's just 60 or 70 miles north of us, not on the coast. So that's $1 million that are diverted away from our students because we got to insure our buildings and our facilities. So those are some of the big challenges with funding. I know there was some relief in terms of what they did for teachers, in the last legislative session. But really, our focus is just going to be trying to do the best that we can for our kids with the resources that we have, and always trying to get creative with finding additional revenue to offer even more for our students.
It makes sense. And it's interesting when people are looking for a district to have their kids go to school, they look at different. Everybody has different things they value, right? Some want to be in the hill country. Some want to be have a 4 day work week or whatever. Um, Now, would you say looking for a district that's property rich, for lack of better words, it seems like that would be a good uh, thing to have on the radar because obviously you'll be able to have access to funds for more programs than some other districts.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword because, even though we're considered property rich, property wealthy, the average home in our community is $230,000, which I know that sounds like a lot, but in today's housing market, that's really not necessarily the case. Like I said, we're a very middle class, lower middle class community. We got a lot of people that, they work hard, they work in local industry. We don't have a lot of housing necessarily in our school district because we're only 9 square miles. We're kind of landlocked between the Gulf of Mexico and surrounding communities. So when people are looking for schools, we like to pride ourselves on we're the highest rated academic school district in our county. And there's several other districts in our counties, and we've been that way for the last 3 years. And we're hoping that we make it a fourth this year. Although there's always good competition amongst local school districts. But what we like to do is set ourselves apart by what we offer our kids. And what we offer our kids is that small community where everybody is basically treated like a family. You can go into our schools and our principals and our teachers know pretty much every kid in the school. And so we really like that, what people call that small town feeling. But we also offer first class facilities for all of our kids. We offer first class programs and we offer a first class education. And, we like to brag. We were one of the only, I think we were the only school in our area that had a student who scored perfect on the ACT last year. So, having that, one kid,
Yeah.
who did that out of how many millions of students across the United States take ACT every year, and to have one of only about 100,000 kids across the country that scored a perfect score really shows that we do offer that first class education here at Ingleside ISD.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, and that is interesting. Wow, perfect score. Do y'all
Mhm.
put a big focus on the standardized test for college or?
So we do. I mean, we're always looking to, basically offer that opportunity for our kids. We do pay for all of our students to take the ACT or the TSI, as they're trying to get into dual credit classes, because we want to provide as many opportunities for our students. And definitely your top tier kids who are on that pathway to go to college. We want to give them every opportunity to be successful. So we do a lot of focus on those standardized tests, but at the same time, we also understand that, and this is kind of one of my big pet peeves in education is one test on one day does not define a student. And, unfortunately, that's the way the game is played in education. But I think you have to look at the whole student and look at that progress from the day they walk into that school until the day they leave. And what we look for is growth. Is that kid progressing? Is that kid learning what they need to be successful and then go that pathway in life that they're going to be able to provide for themselves and their family?
Absolutely. Curious, what percentage of your district roughly is what's the right word? Not poverty, under the
Socioeconomic, low,
yeah.
okay. So we are almost 70% considered low socioeconomic status in our district, or economically disadvantaged is what it's called. So we're hovering about 69.4, 69.5% eco-dis is our demographics in our district.
So even though you have, let's say, more funding than let's say another district, it's is a percentage of your funding just going to because studies show that low socioeconomic districts sometimes the students need additional support.
Mhm.
So the funding kind of go to whether that be free lunches or additional educational support or
So just kind of clarify, we don't actually get more fund, even though we collect more property taxes because of our industry, we don't get to keep that. So we're
uh,
funded at the same level as every other district. So,
mm,
that district that the state is having to put money into to make up the difference of what they collect, we're funded at the same level. So they have basically the same amount of money to educate their kids that we do. We just collect more, but then we send it back to the state. So, like this year, we're going to send almost $11 million back to the state of Texas to basically equalize that funding from what, a school next door that doesn't have industry and our students have access to, it balances it out. So it's really just being intentional with your resources. We are able to offer free breakfast and free lunches to all of our students up until high school. And then at our high school, they all get free breakfast, and then a percentage of them get free lunch depending on what their family income is. But we really try and put our resources into our kids. And if that means that, we do without a few things, then we do without a few things because we want to put our funding to our kids.
So every district, for the most part, gets the same dollar per kid. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so in Texas, the funding system, the way it's set up is they call it the basic allotment. And so what the state of Texas says is you get this amount of money for every student in your school district. And then it's based on their attendance, right? So and that's, we could go into school finance and
Right.
that's a whole other mess. But, in Texas, this basic allotment basically says this is the amount of money you need per child to educate your students. And if you collect more money, so if you think of it as a cup, and the state says your cup, uh, once it gets to that top, that's what you get to keep. But if that cup overflows, you send it back to the state. And so everybody's cup gets filled up, right? Whether it's through local property taxes or whether it's the local property taxes and the state has to pitch in and add to that cup. Once your cup reaches that top, anything extra goes back to the state of Texas. And, we're one of those districts that our cup overflows because of our industry base. And, when you got multi-billion dollar refineries, they're paying a heavier property tax. But, we collect it and then we send it back to the state in the form of a big check every year. But we basically keep the same amount of funding for our kids. And then there's other factors like if you have a student that has special education services, then you might get a little bit more funding for them from, federal income or from the state. Or if you have different like gifted and talented or different programs, you can add a little bit more revenue. But the most basic way to think of it is that those two cups. Once that cup overruns, you send the rest back to the state, and everybody's cup gets filled up the same amount. So it's just one of those games we get to play as educators.
And if you need more than that, you got to pass a bond or.
Yep. If you need more than that, you pass a bond, which of course has to be done with the approval of your voters. You also, there's different grants that you can apply for. But what you're seeing a lot of school districts have to do now is they have to pass smaller bonds to pay for that infrastructure because if you need to put new, here in South Texas, air conditioning is pretty important. And and in that salt air environment, they don't last as long if they're rooftop units. So replacing a new AC, can cost you $100,000, and when you have 30 of those units on top of a building, that gets pretty expensive. So passing smaller bonds is really important. Luckily for us here in Ingleside, we actually have one of the lowest tax rates in our region, and that's because we've been able to be conservative with our money. And we were actually able to pass the largest bond in our school district history last in May of 2025. That's going to help, add some classrooms to our elementary school and do some other infrastructure needs around our district.
Very good. Very good. Well, I know we're running short on time. What's last question? What's the vision for your district here over the next few years?
So here in Ingleside, we like to call ourselves a district of champions, and we're always looking to make our students more successful. I think our vision is to really be on that front edge of providing opportunities to our kids to join the local workforce, whether it's going to college and becoming an engineer or whether it's working in the local industry. We have a big focus. We're right on the Gulf Coast right now, so we've got some big things in the work with a new maritime academy that we're putting together with some local industry, where we're going to take a lot of our different CTE programs and really push them into that maritime industry and show our students what opportunities are out there in our local industry, but that also have a maritime aspect to it. And we're really excited about that academy that we're going to be starting up in the near future. And it's going to be a one of a kind thing across the state of Texas.
Wow, yeah, that's a great career too. It's interesting. I went to a car show a couple years ago, and there was all these Ferraris, right? All these
Mhm.
Ferraris are there, and I started talking to a guy, and I'm like, what do you do? He's like, well, I'm a broker in the maritime
Mhm.
industry, with I guess I had never even heard of it before.
Yep.
So it's interesting that there's some really great industries out there. So that's fantastic. Um, all right. Well, any last thoughts before we close out?
I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity to share our story here of Ingleside ISD. We are, we're always looking to expand our district and and put our word out there and put our story out there for people to hear. And I just want to say thank you for having me on your show and go Mustangs.
Yeah, absolutely. Go Mustangs. And thank you for making time. Our superintendents, I don't think people realize how much they have going on. So I really, really appreciate you making time. Before we close out, we do want to give one final shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education in the form of a free gift. So if your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. And for those that have been tuning in, stay tuned for future episodes of the Educational Leadership Podcast.